Good morning, everybody. It is November 28th, 8 a.m. Will everybody rise for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, roll call is easy. We are all here. Thank you for everybody making it this morning. It's an early meeting, so I appreciate everybody. Welcome, Barbara. Thanks for attending. And so our meeting today is going to be the discussion of the severance agreement for Mary Tomnitz. In the packet that was sent out, and there is a copy there too if you need it, is the original letter that was provided to Mary. And then behind that one would be the letter we received back with everything written in from Mary and her attorney. And then in the back, Mary did do a breakdown so that you can see where the total came from. So if there's any questions on that, instead of just the total on the letter, she was kind enough to show where she came up with that. So I'll need a motion and a second for us to discuss the packet.
I'll make a motion we proceed with discussion on the severance agreement.
I'll second.
Now we can discuss. Tim, would you like to start?
Well, sure. I'm going to speak in generalities to begin with. That we got to the point of having this agenda item today both saddens and troubles me. It saddens me because we'll be losing a dedicated, well-qualified, and truly good person in Mary Tomnitz. It troubles me because this was a self-made problem, an unforced error, if you will. From what I had seen and heard prior to my term as council member, and from what I've witnessed since beginning this term this year, and from what I've heard from many community members, there seems to have been a concerted effort by a small number of residents, including on this council, to find a way to remove Mary from her position. When the council voted to abolish the position of clerk treasurer earlier this year and create two separate positions of clerk and treasurer, I voted with the majority to do so, as it was and still is my belief that that is what is best for the city. Following that up, the two staff who were performing the duties of clerk and treasurer assisted the mayor and I to craft new position descriptions, and we were all working, with the understanding that since we had two well-qualified candidates, no posting would be necessary. That all changed at a subsequent council meeting when, by a 3-2 vote, it was decided the positions would be posted both internally and externally. I can only assume the staff were as surprised and as disappointed as I was. Leading up to this meeting, I struggled with whether or not to dredge all this up or simply focus on the severance for Mary, so she can move forward with the next chapter of her life. I decided to voice my thoughts for two reasons. First, I'd like those who over the past year participated in creating an environment in which it was nearly impossible for Mary to be successful to weigh their actions on the scales of ethics and morals. Second, I want to help ensure something like this never happens again to a staff member of ours. Our staff should expect to be treated respectfully, honestly, and fairly. They should be able to trust what we, as council members, tell them. In addition to what transpired with Mary, I've either witnessed or been made aware of a few incidents that run counter to these aforementioned expectations. One example, as recently as our last council meeting, we had a member accuse our newly hired treasurer of conspiring with some unnamed person or persons to, of all things, include the minutes of a previous meeting in our council packet. In conclusion, I will be voting in favor of a severance for Mary, as it seems the fair thing to do. For the staff, the city, and the residents we represent, I also want each of us on the council to hold ourselves and each other to a higher standard.
Thank you, Tim. Larry?
Well, this may not surprise everybody for what I'm about to say, and that is I have been
opposed to all of this action from the very beginning. I think that, well, I know that we have a licensed professional in our clerk treasurer's position who did a big favor for the city by coming back to us in a time of need. I don't understand why we're eliminating his position. I have certainly gotten no clear explanation as to why we're doing it. And I think Mary's being treated very poorly here. As far as the severance goes, if this is what Mary wants to do, fine, but she should get every nickel for what she's asking for the way she's been treated.
Thank you. Lee?
I think Mary Severance, she deserves it, and appreciate everything that she's done for the city. And it's time to move on.
Thank you, Lee. Troy?
Mary, I want to thank you for coming in at a very difficult time. I know it wasn't easy for you. And I know it was difficult. There was a lot of issues going on when you came in. I think as far as my position goes, fundamentally, I do not feel, if the taxpayers are spending money, they should have a service in return for it. That's where I come from. So I think if this council is going to spend money, of the taxpayers' money, they should be receiving a service for it. So fundamentally, as far as the severance pay for money going out that is not immediately returned as a public service to the citizens of this town, I'm opposed to that. And I will be opposed to the severance package for that reason. However, I guess I'm going to disagree with some of the members of the council. I think that you were treated very well by both councils with your salary that you received and the time that you were here. And I'm grateful that they were able to do that. Currently, right now, the city is not in a financial situation where I feel we should be, going back to what I said earlier, where we should be spending money and not getting public service in return. As far as the positions go, I certainly know that I did not, and I would hope none of the other council members or anybody in this city stand in your way for your opportunity to apply for those positions. I hope that did not happen, because that would not be fair. Basically, that's it. That's my position. Fundamentally, my position, I'm going to be opposed to payments going out from this, public service dollars going out and the public service not being received by the taxpayers in return. So, but I do want to thank you for your service. And thank you for all the time you spent and all the training that you've done for these people. I know that made the transition for a lot, not only for the new council members, but for the new employees when they were coming in. So I do appreciate that.
Thank you, Troy. I have to thank you, Mary, for guiding me for the last 11 months already, almost 12. I couldn't have done it without you. It's been a real rocky road. As far as the severance goes, the base letter that was sent out, we are going to be hopefully putting that in an employee handbook so that we don't have to deal with this again, with some type of structure as far as payouts go. If we ever run into this again, or future councils run into this again. But as far as you and I go, I appreciate everything you've ever done for me. You really have guided me. You've called me out when needed, and you've been teaching me, so I really appreciate everything that you've done. In January, did I think we can get to this point? No. not at all. I want to see you succeed, so I'll do everything I can in my power to make sure that you do, land on your feet somewhere. I'm not against the severance whatsoever. If I was, I wouldn't have worked with Fritz to submit the first letter to you. I don't have anything else to say. But I welcome you to speak to the council now and share any thoughts or feelings.
I don't want to say. This is a tough position. I like Taylor's Falls. I came back because I do. And I didn't think it would come to this either. So, thank you for whoever's going to support this. And I think I just have to move on, I guess, and go from there. I don't know what else to say.
Well, I'll say this, my 20 years, coming up on 20 years working for the benefit of the city of Taylor's Falls, and to try, as a council member, to do what's best for the city and its residents and its taxpayers that Troy speaks so glowingly of. This is wrong from everything that I can read about. Mary bailed us out from the very beginning. I mean, her first term of service was exemplary. She left because she found, a better opportunity for herself. And now she's being discharged for whatever reason you guys came up with. I still don't know. If there is one person in this room that is dedicated to the city, more so than anybody else in the room, it's Mary. And I would say to you that she's being treated very poorly in this whole situation. So, I opposed it, Tim opposed it, you guys brought this all on yourselves. So, think about what we're gonna do here. We're discharging Mary. She did nothing wrong, absolutely nothing wrong. You guys never had a reason to do this that I could see made any sense whatsoever.
I'm going to vehemently oppose that word. I do not feel that I'm discharging Mary at all. I do not feel that this council has discharged her. She has made, this is a decision she's made for herself, for her family. I don't know, but this is a decision
I
she's made.
don't see how you can say she made this decision for herself.
She has the,
You guys came up with this idea, you eliminated her position.
she had the opportunity to apply for either of the other positions. So like I said, I'm opposed to that term. I do not agree with that term, and I do not believe Mary is being discharged at all.
Well, I stand by it.
Yep. Please, Fritz.
When you're ready, I can weigh in.
Yes, please.
Again, focusing on the severance agreement and on what's before the council. As I think you inferred at least, we drafted an initial proposal for Mary, and quite rightly, she had counsel, Mr. Glover, all respect to the employment there, review it. He countered with what you have in front of you, which is essentially, it's what I would call boilerplate. And there's nothing wrong with that other than the fact, for example, in paragraph 6, it references all requests for references to your human resources department. I'm assuming that's you, Mr. Taylor. So that's we could probably just say to Mayor, but otherwise it's not unusual. The critical thing from a legal perspective on all these is if you don't have a policy in place, you don't. And there's nothing wrong with not having a policy in place for a smaller city. What you do with this will set a precedent of sort. So you are going to be stepping down a path where this is an expectation that you're going to be creating. The other thing, to address the council member's point, ordinarily, in a situation where there's a severance agreement, there does have to be some kind of consideration stated. And that was stated in your proposal. And it's stated in this one too, and having reviewed this, especially having heard council remarks, I would say that what's in here, which is an operative waiver on the part of both sides, is sufficient consideration for you to pass this. The amount, based on my experience, that's involved here is not ungenerous, but it's also not unusual. We're not dealing with situations where you're dealing with a 1-year severance or something like that for a lot of money. This is, I think, a reasonable amount of money that's being requested, and it's based on a calculation that is both understandable and defensible from the city's point of view. So those are the two considerations that I look for when looking at this. One, is there a stated consideration? Because literally, you can't get something away for nothing. There has to be some stated consideration. That's here. The amount is not extraordinary. And with just a couple of tweaks, which I don't think there would be a problem with, the mayor instead of the HR department, for example, is planning on expanding in the near future. This is acceptable language with what's in it. Now, I see there's a note in here about attorney's fees. How much is that? Normally, both parties deal with attorney's fees, but I suspect you probably end up paying more for this than the council does.
So, because it wasn't a completed document when it was given to me, I felt the need that if I was going to fill it out and do it correct, I had to reach out to my own attorney.
Sure.
Which I did not.
Wise.
And every time, whether we have to reach out to the city attorney or I have to reach out for any changes, it's occurring $425 an hour, which is not cheap. And I also find that because it wasn't a severance package that could have been very easily the blanks filled in and completed, I felt that the city attorney, the city, should have been able to complete this without me having to reach out to somebody else. And so at the end of the day, if we're gonna make changes to this, then I don't think it should come out of my pocket, I think it should come out of the city's pocket. Because I'm the one that had to do the work, I'm the one that had to reach out to a separate attorney. So that's how I came up with that. So I had to put down a retainer to have him do this, and then, like I said, every time you reach out, you have to break it down. It's $4.25 an hour, so I don't know at the end of the day what it's gonna be, but that's the rates I've been at.
Well, I'm obviously on the wrong side of this negotiation. But I will
Can I
say,
ask for clarification on the attorney? Is it from this point moving forward, or what you've already approved?
I don't know.
Something for us?
I didn't break it down, so,
well, do you
in a
have,
way, I
well, I
don't.
guess my question was, do you have the amount?
So I had put down $1,000 retainer, and then it's $4.25 an hour, so whatever, at the end of the day, what I've accrued so far, and if I have to reach out and have them change it again, that's gonna be another cost, so I don't know till the end what it's gonna be. So, I mean, it would definitely be a breakdown, at the end of this thing, but until the end, I don't know.
Mr. Mayor, just so you know, I would expect that someone under these circumstances would have another lawyer review it. So you did the right thing. It wasn't something you were forced to do, it was something you did in your own interest. But you can decide, normally I would expect the parties to pay their own lawyers, but you can decide if you choose to include that in severance. That would not be unreasonable. We're talking about $1,000 less, assuming I talk to him for only about 15 minutes, mostly talking about baseball. I mean, this is, what's here is boilerplate, it's very straightforward.
So if it would have been just review, it would have been one thing, but it was actually creating most of that document, as you see from what originally was given to me to what we ended up with. So,
Again, that's part of what I would consider to be part of the negotiation process, and so it's up to you.
So we really don't have any idea how much the attorney fees could be, because you're not done yet, right?
I do not know. I don't know what has been accrued up to this point. I didn't ask him, and I didn't know if any changes would be done after this point. So, $1,000 retainer, $4.25 an hour. I don't know yet.
I would guess that that's probably gonna make it. I mean, I really don't. It just, like I said, this is a fairly straightforward one of the document. It did not include the consideration we proposed, but like I said, the consideration that is stated in here is adequate.
I guess my thought process is, like moving forward, so if we have any changes that need to be made, I would say, we need to get that bill first.
Well, I'm guessing.
But if it's under the retainer, it's, 1,000, I can't imagine an hour to change one word. Again, I'm not a lawyer though, and I don't really like money, so.
And, Mr. Mayor, I'm sorry to interrupt, but you could leave it that way, but I mean, seriously, I mean, the employer's Human Resources Department suggests that, we're not paying attention to the parties, that's all. So, that's an easy fix. The rest of it, like I said, is very straightforward. It's not overkill, despite what it may seem like. It details everything. It's well drafted. These things are very good.
Okay.
So how about this? What if we were to split the cost of the attorney fees, and so not split the $1,000, we'll say split the costs of whatever it was, after we get the bill, and we go from there.
I could support not to exceed.
Yeah.
We'd split 50-50, not to exceed $1,000 on the city's part. And there was one typo, I think it's a typo, it didn't read right to me, in the second whereas. Whereas the employee, it seems like the employee is.
There's, on that second whereas, if I may, there's a word missing, after employer.
Either there's something missing or
No,
that's not needed.
And the word that's missing would be recognizes.
Okay. Okay.
And I'm sorry I didn't mention that earlier, you're correct.
And Mary, were you able to review the financial, the breakdown for that last pay period? I wasn't sure, I misunderstood the calculation there, or,
So, as you brought up just before the meeting, that last pay period of 224, the PTO accrued, that shows for a full month's worth of PTO.
full pay period.
Full pay period of PTO, and it would have only been worth 1 week when I figured it out, so, Tim pointed that out. So, we can either change that or leave it, that's completely up to you.
I have it as, it should be 3.54 hours accrued for a total of 131.26. And that line 10 for the pay period 224.24. Total wages and benefits would be 1725.70, making the total 22,862.52.
And is that based on, because I know we were talking that you've been using some PTO, so I mean, that's gonna change here too, right?
Yep. Yes, so I used about a little over 5 hours last week, but so I wasn't sure how you wanted to do that. I didn't get a full week in there, so.
Sure.
Yep. So I can recalculate it, but the base PTO was at the time when I filled this out, is what I used it.
So when we get ready to cut the check, we just recalculate your current PTO and pay it out at that time.
That would be my recommendation as well.
So don't approve it just based on what it's gonna be, so then how does that severance?
Well, the base would be
Letter.
the same, I guess, we just need to figure out how much PTO you really have, cause if, let's say you accrue more in another week, and we don't pay that out, I mean, I don't wanna not do that either.
Well, we're not
Or if
to
he
pay her
uses
what
it.
she's owed
Yeah.
by law, so.
So I would say when we cut the check, we look at what your current balance is and base the PTO, maybe even do separate checks.
So then,
One for
No, I think
hourly,
it-
one for PTO.
I do think it needs to be separate, so the original pay period that would end at the end of this week would still do all the benefits and everything included, and then you would have a separate check, which would be the severance package of it, because para and things like that are not deducted from that.
Okay.
It's not eligible for that, and that's why the breakdown on this chart. So, we can, but when it comes to the severance agreement, do we have to change that number then in here?
No,
We don't?
no. And, you know, if this is a consideration for the severance, that's fine. If there's a final payment that's due or separate and apart from this, that can be done separately from this. I would encourage you, if you're gonna be passing this today, to do it at a fixed number.
Correct.
With a provision, if you want, to deal with up to 1,000 in attorney's fees. Per attorney's fees, and specify that, and that should be it. And what we should be able to do then is adopt that less, that paragraph 6. And there would be, I think, a fairly easy substitution of that, which is paragraph 2. The city shall provide an employee's request a favorable letter or recommendation, which I think that's what that's about. So substituting paragraph 2 on paragraph 6 on the document provided, I think takes care of that. And that gives you some specific language that you can pass today. And I think that's what you want to do, if you're going to pass this.
So if I understand correctly, if this is a question in the form of a statement, we remove the current PTO balance from the severance calculation, that gets paid out with your last paycheck.
I'm talking about the last paycheck. In other words, whatever else that would be included in that is not included in this, and it's not part of this. In other words, it's a final payment that she's entitled to as an employee. This is different. This is a severance.
So
Okay.
we would remove the current PTO balance line from the severance calculation.
I would suggest you do that, yes.
Okay, and then, so,
That's a separate entitlement.
so then what I come up with is total wages and benefits for the pay periods beginning 12/2/23 and commencing or ending on 2/29/24. That's all or parts of 6 pay periods. The total wages and benefits total $20,541.96.
Okay, so we just changed that, and then we'll do a final payout on the PTO.
well, yeah, yeah, that's, I would guess that's a council vote as well. You know, that comes before the council, a final payout on the PTO.
PTO has to be
That's-
paid out on its
That's
language.
okay.
So are we, just let me get this straight, are we changing this payment amount at this point on this contract, or are we staying with 24,716?
No, we'd have to change it to the 20.
Again, keeping it severance specific.
And then I will make a motion that we, at the risk of setting a precedent, but I will make a motion that we cap the attorney's fees, the city's responsibility of attorney's fees at 1,000.
I second.
I do have a the attorney fees capped at 1,000, is that going to be the full amount capped at 1,000, or is that a portion of the two of us?
Yeah, so what I had previously stated was the city would pay 50% of the attorney's
Up to
fees,
$1,000.
up to $1,000. That way, if it comes in at 1,500, we're only obligated to pay $750. So I would like to amend the previous motion.
Sure. Yeah, please do. Go ahead, Tim.
So I feel like we should almost go down a list of changes. Do we need to approve each one independently? I mean, we need to make sure Michelle's able to capture, or Fritz, what we're agreeing to and the changes in it, so is it a
I
page?
think that I could even do that
Okay.
briefly. What I'm suggesting is you do the operative document here, because I think you're looking at a specific number and a specific document. But the operative document is the one that Mr. Glover prepared, this boilerplate. You insert that one word, recognize, after employer, and the second whereas, that you delete paragraph 6 and insert as paragraph 6, paragraph 2 in the proposal. And then you change the amount, and keep in mind, we're not including the severance package calculations as part of the agreement. So you include then the $20,000 in the text in the original, let's see, that would be paragraph 2, as the amount of the payment. So most of the change math is in that paragraph 2. And what you're looking at there is the hard number.
I have all this written down too, so we can compare.
Did you have a question on number 6? You said eliminate number 6, the references, the employee agrees to direct all requests.
Right.
You said delete that and insert paragraph 2.
Now, paragraph 2, which just simply says, all requests for references is what paragraph 6 is about. And in response to request for reference, shall provide the employee's dates of employment. In other words, it minimizes, what can be said other than to say it was satisfactory or better at all times. And what paragraph 2 says in the original one is, just simply, if requested, shall provide a favorable letter of recommendation to here or wherever, or to whatever subsequent potential employer's employee may direct. In other words, you say, I need a letter of recommendation, you'll get a favorable recommendation from the city, period.
Okay, so I guess, which page is paragraph 2 on?
It's on page 1 of the original separation and severance. It's
Under
it's
the
much
Oh, the
shorter.
original one?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Okay.
It's much shorter, and just simply says, if requested, you get a favorable letter of recommendation.
Under agreement, Mary.
Oh, got it.
If this were perhaps a larger city and it goes through HR and they turn it around a bit and do all the other kind of stuff, that's different. But here it's just simply you ask, you get. That's the sum of it, as I see it, Mr. Mayor. So the numbers issue is in paragraph 2 of the severance agreement. The language is otherwise, I think, is acceptable. There is a stated consideration which is adequate for this purpose. I would suggest, Mr. Mayor, that you are at a point perhaps where you consider adopting a policy after this one. This is long behind you about severance generally. And I think most cities have that. And it eliminates the need for this kind of negotiation. It gives you a framework.
I agree.
I triple checked the numbers, and I'll change it one last time. So I triple checked and I triple checked. The actual payout amount would be $20,539.39. I'm not quite sure what was wrong with the original calculation, but it was about $2 off.
$20,539.39.
And 39 cents.
0.39.
Okay, so next steps. We don't have, what, okay, go ahead, really quick.
Well, I guess I'm confused about the severance package from the perspective of that she had the ability to apply for these jobs. So Larry, I hear what you're saying, but when they split the position, she had the same opportunity as anybody to apply for one of these jobs, and she chose not to. She wasn't denied the ability to apply for those jobs and interview for those jobs. So we all appreciate that she came in and did all this stuff. We also compensated her for that by paying her $7 an hour more than the position pays for, which in a year and a half totals over $20,000. The other thing is that she's had months and months and months to apply for a new job. So I understand normally with the severance packages, they're not getting a lot of notice, there's a change in the company, they're downsizing. The purpose of the severance package is to give them some money so that they have the time to go and apply for another job. But she's known about this since the summer. So it's been 4, 5, 6 months of being able to go and apply for another job and get another job. She's also had the ability to apply for one of the jobs here. So I'm confused on why we're considering a severance package when A, we don't have the money, B, you want to give her a 3-month severance package when she's had half a year to either continue to decide to work here or go and apply for another position. And given the financial status of the city, I mean, I know that I sound like a terrible person to say she shouldn't have this money, but she's had opportunities to go and apply for another job. Whether we had somebody to come in or not. And she was overcompensated at the beginning from the front end when she got the job because she was doing us a favor. And I do hear what Tim says about, you know, the hiring stuff, but you gotta remember, she was hired as an emergency. It was an emergency decision without council approval. We are required to advertise the position and let people go and apply. So I guess I'm confused. As a resident who's already gonna watch my taxes go up because we are financially in a bad place, I'm having a real hard time looking at the city saying they're okay with writing a check for $20,000 when somebody had the opportunity to apply for this position, chose not to, and had the opportunity to have plenty of time to go and get another job. So I'd love to hear how you guys feel that it's justifiable to pay additional money to somebody who's had plenty of opportunities to go and continue on with this position.
Well, first of all, this is not public forum, and we are not required to respond to public forum.
But I am on the
I'm gonna say,
finance committee, so I am asking from that perspective.
You are not part of the city council. You are a volunteer for the finance committee. So
Right.
I would say, thank you for your opinion.
Okay? And as somebody who's paying taxes, I'd love to hear why you're okay with spending my tax dollars on this.
Mr. Mayor?
Yeah.
Ma'am, I don't know you.
No, it's okay.
But you're conflating a number of things. And I can understand perhaps why you might not be aware of the purpose of a severance agreement and the need in some instances for a severance agreement. That's fine. But many of the factors that you cite have nothing to do with the severance agreement. And a severance agreement can in fact be in place, and it often is, when somebody's already got other employment. So there's a need for separate consideration here. The separate considerations I've indicated is adequate here, and that's your discretion, something that you may want to do or not do. The issues that you raise would be the sort of issues that someone could say, well, gee, it's costing us some money, we know that you might be entitled to this, why don't you just forget about it? And that's kind of up to her. But that's not the issue that's in front of the council right now. So I appreciate what you're saying, although as I guess another member of the council. But the bottom line here is that what you have in front of you is a severance agreement that is adequate, is legal on its face, and it's a decision you have to make.
Thank you, Fritz. With the changes that we have, I'd like to start moving forward here with a motion. Well, we have a motion on the table to approve the severance agreement. So,
I'll amend the motion to include the changes discussed and documented. Fritz summarized and our treasurer committed to minutes, and we'll move forward with that. So I amend my initial motion and now ask that we approve the severance agreement with changes.
Mr. Mayor, could I ask for just one addition to that?
please.
Because as I was reviewing again the language in paragraph 2 where it says, certainly less relevant taxes and other withholdings, that's fine, but after that, in full satisfaction of all claims employee may have against employer, including unused personal time off. You've already concluded that the personal time off claim, when it's adjusted, will be part of the final payment, so that language is not necessary. That is in full satisfaction down to the end of the sentence.
All right, where are you at again? I'm sorry.
If you're looking at the agreement there.
First, original or second?
Yours, the severance
Yeah, I
agreement
changed.
came from
Okay.
Mr. Glover. Looking at the indented paragraph, which now
Yep.
has the new figure in it. Go past that, you go into what is, let's see, the third line down. It says, less all relevant taxes and other withholdings, which is fine. But the language after that says, in full satisfaction of all claims employee may have against employer, including for unused personal time off. So what I'm suggesting that we should eliminate is the including for unused personal time off. That was the point that was raised earlier, and she'll be getting a separate check for that.
If necessary, I'll make the motion that we strike that make that correction.
Okay.
Do we strike the entirety of the rest of that paragraph?
No,
Okay, because there's a dollar amount there too that.
Well, I think we're gonna go with the 20,539, and then the PTO will be paid out separate, and we don't know that until we calculate.
Right.
So we could strike the 19,108.80.
So what I'm hearing is we are striking the following text, which is in full satisfaction of all claims employee may have against employer, including for unused personal time off. Is that correct?
no, in
Okay.
full satisfaction of all claims employee may have against employer, period.
Okay,
Phrase stops there, including unused personal time off.
states.
That goes, including personal goes. And then, because that's what we're talking about here, and then shall issue W-2, which is fine for the amount, that's fine. Employer agree that only 19,000 of the severance payment is in lieu of wages and compensation. Again, that gets us into some weeds I don't think we need to get into there.
Right, that's the one that I was primarily.
Yeah, and so thank you for bringing that up. I'd say you agree to a W-2, and then again, employee agreed that only 19,000 of this severance payment is in lieu of wages, whatever, because it's not in lieu of wages. So that should do it.
Okay, I just need clarification again.
Sure.
Starting
Let
with,
me
in
go
that paragraph.
payment of, all right? That language right there. It says payment of 20, it's not 24,000, it's payment of 20,539.39. Severance payment, that's what it is. Less all relevant taxes and other withholdings. Employer shall issue a Form W-2 to employee for this amount, period.
Wait, so all the way down to employer shall issue, keep that?
Yeah, Form W-2 employee for this amount, period. And then the rest of that, the rest of it, no.
And we also,
The rest of it is.
including for unused personal time off was scratched.
Right,
No.
that's including the unused, because we just went through that, that's a separate payment, the calculation will be separate. So, that's not part of this. The severance payment itself is 20,539.39.
So can I read it, what I understand it to be?
Sure, I mean.
Payment of 20,539.39, less all relevant taxes and other withholdings in full satisfaction of all claims employee may have against employer, period.
Right.
Employer shall issue a Form W-2 to employee for this amount, period.
Right.
And we're getting rid of the whole,
Yep, all the rest of
the
them.
rest is gone.
Okay. So sticking with your motion.
One last question.
Okay.
Are we adding in this document that we're paying, do we need to add in this document the legal fee, or is that a separate motion that we want to make separate from this?
I think we need a full new motion at the end here, wording of everything. Some sort of.
I would insert that, that's a very good point. And we're looking at that paragraph.
Okay.
So city of Taylor's Falls.
And I would rather than, since we've done all that, and arguably, the attorney's, not even arguably, the attorney's fees is not part of the compensation, it's a separate part of the agreement. You could go to the second paragraph from the bottom, again, on that first sentence, what's the severance agreement, and just add a sentence which says that employer agrees to pay up to agrees to pay 1/2 in amount up to $1,000 the attorney's fees employee has paid in legal representation, personal legal representation in this agreement.
Say it again?
Employer agrees to pay 1/2 attorney fees up to $1,000 that has occurred.
That employee has paid.
Yeah.
In other words, you're gonna be reimbursed, or you're gonna bill them.
And you want that right after that long sentence that we deleted and changed?
No, I don't. I'm suggesting you look at the second paragraph from the bottom there, where we're talking about employer and its counsel have not made any representations, since we're talking about lawyers. That we insert that there.
So city shall reimburse employee 50% of attorney fees said employee has accrued not to exceed $1,000.
That works.
That makes,
Or,
Anything else that we want to add or strike?
Oh, I think I've put enough curls, wiggles in this thing.
Okay. So we can go ahead, we have the motion with the amendments we've made to Mary Thomas's severance agreement. I'll second that motion. Any other discussion to be had? Troy, anything else?
No.
Lee? No. Larry? No. Tim?
no, sir.
All right. All those in favor of passing the, agreeing with the severance agreement for Mary Tommins, with her last day being effective November 30th, and the check being paid out by December 7th, 2023, say aye.
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 All opposed?
Opposed?
All right. I need a motion and a second for meeting adjourned.
Motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
All those in favor of adjourning today's meeting, say aye.
Aye.
and just do that.
Just let it close, I seconded.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I make one comment?
Please.
I just want to thank the council for stepping up and doing the right thing.
Thank you.
Thanks, Barbara.